You feel it before you can name it. A kind of hollow pressure somewhere between your chest and your throat. You are in a room full of people, or you are alone in your apartment, and either way, the feeling is exactly the same. That is the first strange thing about loneliness. It has almost nothing to do with how many people are around you. Scientists used to think loneliness was an emotional problem, a mood, something you could shake off with a phone call or a night out. They were wrong. What they have found instead is one of the most unsettling discoveries in modern medicine. Loneliness does not just feel bad, it physically damages your body, it rewires your brain, it shortens your life by the same margin as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And the mechanism behind all of it traces back not to your feelings, but to a survival system your ancestors built hundreds of thousands of years before you were born. This is the loneliness effect. Your body has a threat detection system. It is ancient, fast, and almost completely outside your control. When it fires, your heart rate spikes, your muscles flood with cortisol, your immune system shifts into a specific emergency configuration. You know what triggers it. A sudden noise in the dark, a near miss in traffic, a strange shadow at the edge of your vision. But here is something your body never told you. Being alone triggers it too. Not sometimes. Every time. Every night you spend without trusted social contact, your nervous system runs a quiet background scan, detects the absence of your group, and treats that absence as danger. John Cacioppo was a neuroscientist at the University of Chicago. He spent decades studying what happens inside the bodies and brains of chronically lonely people, and what he found shocked him. Lonely people are not just sad, they are measurably biologically different. Their inflammatory markers are elevated, their immune cells behave differently, producing more proteins associated with infection fighting and fewer associated with antiviral defense. Their cortisol levels stay high not just in moments of stress, but as a baseline. They sleep less efficiently. Their brains, when scanned, show heightened activity in the regions that detect social threat, even when no threat is present. The lonely brain is a brain permanently braced for attack. Cacioppo called this hypervigilance. And once you understand why it exists, you cannot unsee it. Go back 200,000 years. Your ancestors lived in groups of roughly 50 to 150 people. This number is not random. It is the cognitive limit of stable social relationships, a ceiling calculated by anthropologist Robin Dunbar from primate brain size data. Your ancestors know every face in their group. They know who to trust, who to avoid, who owes them a favor. That web of relationships is not just comfort, it is the entire infrastructure of survival. You do not hunt alone, you do not defend against predators alone, you do not raise children alone, you do not survive a disease, a drought, or a rival group alone. Every day you exist outside your social group is a day your probability of dying climbs. Your brain learned this. Your body learned this. And the learning went so deep that it became biology. So your nervous system built an alarm system for social isolation, one that activates the moment you are separated from your group, one that floods your body with the same chemistry as physical pain so that you will not ignore it, so that you will feel it urgently, the way you feel hunger or thirst, and be driven to reconnect. The pain of loneliness is not a malfunction. It is a signal, an ancient biological alarm that says, you are separated from your group. Find them. Now. The problem is that the world you live in is not the world your nervous system was built for. You live in cities of millions. You sleep in rooms by yourself. You change jobs, move apartments, lose touch with friends across distance and time and the slow drift of different lives. You spend your mornings staring at a screen, your commutes in silence behind earbuds, your evenings alone with another screen. And your nervous system, which cannot distinguish between ancient grassland isolation and modern urban solitude, runs the same alarm it has always run. Except now there is no group to return to just over the ridge. The signal fires and finds no resolution. This is where the damage happens. Chronic loneliness means chronic low-grade cortisol. Cortisol, over time, suppresses the immune system in specific ways. It impairs your ability to fight viruses. It increases systemic inflammation. Inflammation is implicated in almost every major disease of aging: cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, certain cancers. Julianne Holt-Lundstad, a researcher at Brigham Young University, conducted a meta-analysis of 148 studies covering over 300,000 participants. Her finding was blunt. Social isolation is a greater predictor of early death than obesity, greater than physical inactivity, equivalent in mortality risk to smoking half a pack of cigarettes every day. The numbers are not a rounding error. They are a crisis. But it goes deeper than the body. Your brain physically changes. Cacioppo's research showed that chronically lonely people enter a state he called self-preservation mode. In this state, the brain begins to interpret neutral social signals as threatening. A colleague who does not smile becomes someone who dislikes you. A text that takes an hour to receive a reply becomes evidence of rejection. Your social radar, already calibrated for danger, begins to misfire. You start to expect rejection, and because you expect it, you begin to withdraw. You become less likely to initiate contact, less likely to trust, less likely to take the social risks that might actually end your loneliness. This is the trap. Loneliness creates the very behavior that sustains itself. Cacioppo described this as a loneliness loop. Isolation triggers hypervigilance. Hypervigilance creates social suspicion. Social suspicion causes withdrawal. Withdrawal deepens isolation, and the loop runs quietly, sometimes for years, sometimes for decades, while from the outside nothing looks obviously wrong. You have probably felt part of this loop. The party you did not go to because you were sure no one would really want you there. The message you drafted and deleted. The friendship you let go quiet because reaching out felt too vulnerable and the silence had already gone on too long. Your ancient brain was trying to protect you. It was doing exactly what it was built to do. It just did not know that the world had changed. There is a finding from Cacioppo's later work that is worth sitting with. He and his colleagues tested whether lonely people actually have worse social skills than non-lonely people when objectively measured. They do not. Loneliness does not make you less capable of connection. It makes you less willing to attempt it. The skill is there, the fear is louder, which means the barrier is not ability. The barrier is perception. The barrier is a threat detection system interpreting the normal risks of human closeness as something far more dangerous than they are. And here is the turn that changes everything. Your body cannot tell the difference between emotional pain and physical pain, not in any fundamental neurological sense. Naomi Eisenberger, a researcher at UCLA, showed that social rejection activates the same regions of the brain as physical injury. The anterior cingulate cortex, the insular cortex, the same architecture that processes a broken bone, processes a broken connection. This is why people describe heartbreak as physical, why grief feels like something is pressing on your sternum, why rejection after rejection can feel eventually like being worn down. Your brain is not being poetic. It is being literal. Pain demands attention. Pain drives behavior change. Pain is the mechanism by which your body gets your mind to act. Loneliness hurts because you were supposed to fix it. The modern world made that harder. Not impossible, but harder. Because the social structures your nervous system expects, the stable lifelong group, the physical proximity, the daily visible evidence of belonging, most people alive today do not have those things in the form your ancient biology recognizes. You have contacts, not community. You have followers, not witnesses. You have notifications instead of presence. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that rates of loneliness have roughly doubled in the United States since the 1980s. The Surgeon General of the United States declared loneliness a public health epidemic in 2023. Half of American adults report measurable levels of loneliness. The numbers in the UK, Australia, Japan, and across Western Europe tell the same story at scale. The loneliness epidemic is not a failure of individual effort or social skill. It is a structural mismatch between an ancient biological system and a modern way of life that was never designed with that system in mind. But the biology points somewhere useful, because if loneliness is a pain signal, then like all pain signals, it is also a map. Pain tells you where the body needs attention. The loneliness signal tells you exactly what the body needs, not more followers. Not more content, not a better algorithm surfacing the right people. It needs what it has always needed: consistent, trusted, physically present, low stakes connection. Time with people who know you well enough to notice if something changes. Even small interventions work. Cacioppo's research found that a single positive social interaction, one that felt genuine rather than performed, could measurably lower inflammatory markers for hours afterward. Not fix everything, but move the dial. Your nervous system responds to real connection the way a desert plant responds to actual rain. Faster than you think. More completely than you expect. Tonight, or sometime this week, you will probably feel it. That hollow pressure, the absence of something you cannot quite name. And now you know that it is not a mood. It is not weakness. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you as a person. It is a 200,000-year-old signal firing in a body that has not yet received the news that the world changed. A body still looking with ancient urgency for the group it was built to survive inside. The signal is not the problem. The signal is the answer.